Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Glad you all are here today. My name is Jared Wong. I am the communications analyst with FCERA. I'm so happy to have you all here this afternoon. Today's webinar is part of our Lunch and Learn series. So if you've attended one of our webinars before, welcome back. If this is your first webinar, welcome. Glad that you can make it out today. So before I kind of get started with the presentation, I'm just going to give people just another minute or so to kind of get into the webinar because I know it's right at 12 o'clock, right during the lunch hour here. So before I kind of get started with that, I'm just going to give it another minute for people to kind of file in here. But you're all here today to learn about today's topic, which is the cost of living adjustment, also known as the COLA. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, what it is, how this affects you, how this can impact your retirement, and so forth. So just a couple of friendly reminders here. This is a Microsoft Teams live event, so there's no mics or camera. That's why you don't have the option to turn your camera on or have any microphones, stuff like that. If you guys have any questions, because I'm sure there will be questions today, you guys should be able to see that Q&A section box right there. I just posted a message about 10 minutes ago, giving you guys a little bit of information there. You could post your questions in that Q&A box right there. That's where I can answer those questions for you if you have any today. In that message or in that announcement there that I put in that Q&A box, I have a link to a survey. I would really appreciate if you guys took a little bit of time after this webinar today just to complete that survey. That survey will help kind of mold our content for the future. Your feedback's important, and we want to keep creating more and better content that will suit your needs for your retirement educational purposes. And then finally, just one little thing here is that today's webinar is going to be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel later on today or tomorrow. If you would like a copy of today's PowerPoint presentation, you can just send us an email at FCERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov. And that email is in that chat box there for the Q&A section. Okay, so I think we can probably get started here. I see that we are just about, let's see here. Yep, I think we could probably get started now. It seems like we have a pretty good amount of people kind of filing in. Okay, so with today's webinar, I first want to go over a couple things here. So the first thing I want to cover with you all, I want to kick off this webinar with some background information about your FCERA pension before we get into today's topic. So your retirement benefit that you get from FCERA is called a defined benefit plan. Now, what a defined benefit is, it is a lifetime benefit based on specific factors. So it is a formula-driven retirement plan. So when how we calculate what your retirement benefit is based off of 3 specific factors of age at retirement, your years of service, or what we call service credit, and your salary, or what we call final average compensation. So we take those factors together, we multiply them together, and whatever that amount comes out to be, that's what you're going to get from us every month for the rest of your life. It is a lifetime benefit, so as long as you're alive, you will get a payment from us every month. Now, also, determining your calculation of your benefit is depending on what membership classification and tier level that you fall into. So general or safety, or tiers 1 through 5 that are in our plan. Now, members must be vested to receive any type of a benefit in our plan. So to be vested in the plan, you have to have 5 years of service, which I don't believe that's going to be an issue with anybody in today's webinar because of the topic that we are going to discuss. Now, moving along, this is just a little chart I wanted to show you all about retirement eligibility in case that you did not know what the requirements are to retire. So depending on your tier and your membership classification, there are different retirement eligibility requirements. Now, what you guys see here on the screen are the absolute minimum requirements to retire based off those membership classifications and tiers. Now, for today's presentation, I'm only going to fully focus on this first box and this third box for mostly general tiers 1 through 3 and safety tiers 1 and 2. So for general tiers 1 through 3, the members retirement eligibility requirements, the minimum requirements are age 50 with 10 years of service, or at any age with 30 years of service, or at age 70 if they are actively employed with the FCERA plan sponsor, regardless of years of service. Then safety tiers 1 and 2, the minimum requirements to retire are age 50 with 10 years of service, or at any age if you have 20 years of service. Now, these are important because these are the factors that help determine if you can retire and when you could potentially retire or should retire, depending on your interest. Now, because your retirement benefit from us is based off of those 3 factors I spoke of earlier of age, years of service, and your final average compensation, the higher or the more one of those, or excuse me, the more one of those factors increases or more. So if you get older, the longer you work, the bigger the benefit that you get. So the more those factors increase, the bigger the benefits you'll get from us when you retire. So while you see these are the minimum requirements to retire, it may not be advantageous for you to retire at those minimum requirements based off of what you will receive from us per month for the rest of your life. So those are just a little bit of background, just kind of like warm up of your retirement benefits. Now we are going to kind of just get into today's topic. We're moving on to the main event, why you guys are here today. So the topic of today's Lunch and Learn is the COLA, or cost of living adjustment. I'm sure some of you have already heard this around the water cooler at work with your coworkers. You may have had some coworkers retire and get the COLA. So you may be wondering what this all means. What is it? So the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, I'm going to be saying COLA a lot today. The cost of living adjustment is based off the Consumer Price Index for the Western region. Now, who's eligible for the COLA? Members that are in tiers 1 through 3. So if you're a general member 1, 2, or 3, in tiers 1, 2, or 3, or you're a safety member in tiers 1 and 2, you are eligible for a cost of living adjustment when you retire. Now, if you're unsure of what tier that you fall under, you can actually find that out inside the member portal. If you have access to our member portal, you can find that information there, or you can give us a call or send us an email and we can get that information to you. Now, for the cost of living adjustment, our Board of Retirement generally approves whatever a cost of living adjustment is for these eligible retirees and eligible members in those tiers that are pending retirement at our February board meetings. So it's usually at the first or second board meeting of that month is when they will discuss and potentially approve any potential cost of living increases. Now, for eligible members, so retirees can receive up to a max of 3% of a COLA per year. So a retiree can get up to 3%. If the COLA happens to be greater than 3%, that those retirees that are eligible will get that 3% for that 1 year. And then the remaining balance of that, the remaining percentage, will be put into something called the COLA bank. Then when there's years where the COLA is less than 3%, so let's say, for example, next year is 1%, we will pull from that COLA bank to add to that cost of living. So that's kind of how that COLA bank works. But retirees can only receive a maximum of 3%. So that's super, super important, and is only eligible for members that are in tiers 1 through 3. Unfortunately, our members that are in tiers 4 and 5, like myself, we're not eligible for the cost of living adjustment. Now, moving on to the next thing, you may be wondering, okay, what is our cost of living for this year? Well, at the February 7th, 2024 meeting, the Board of Retirement approved a COLA of 4.5%. So, what that means is eligible retirees that are already currently retired in those tiers 1 through 3, or eligible members that are looking to retire on or before April 1st, will be eligible to receive that 3% COLA, and then that remaining 1.5% will go into the COLA bank. Now, I've also put in the chat right there for you guys a link to our website that gives you more information, including the board letter that was approved by our board for the cost of living adjustment. Now, so for anybody that retires on or before April 1st of this year, they will be able to receive a 3% COLA increase starting with their April benefit check. Now, That remaining, as I mentioned, that remaining 1.5% will then be put in the COLA bank and used for future years where the COLA is less than 3%. Now, if a member decides to retire after April 1st of this year, you can do that. That's okay. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a cost of living adjustment for the year 2024. You will have to wait until April 2025 to get a potential cost of living adjustment if there is one that is approved next year. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at your planning for retirement and things of that nature. So with that being said, that's what the COLA is, how that works, who's eligible for that, and what this year's is. So now we're going to kind of shift gears here. And now that you know more about what the COLA is and what that entails, you may be asking yourself, okay, should I retire this year to get the COLA? Will it benefit me if I do that? And then the other big question in the room that we get asked a lot is, hey, what is my monthly benefit amount going to be? Well, the first thing I can tell you all is that retirement is a big decision and requires planning. So one of the best ways that you can plan for your retirement is by using our FCERA member portal. So the majority of our membership has a member portal account and uses our portal. Things that you can view inside the member portal is like our account summary, so you could see what you've contributed into the plan, what you should be contributing per pay period, for example. You could see your contact and beneficiary information because that's super important. But the biggest thing that a lot of our members, especially the ones that are looking to retire within the next 10 years or less, is calculating your retirement benefit estimate and in that portal and using and viewing the various options for that time of retirement that you're using the calculations for. It is your best way to help plan for your FCERA benefit. If you do not have an account, that's okay. You can register for one, but you will need what is called a unique identifier in order to register for an account. The easy ways that you guys can get a unique identifier to help complete your registration is either by calling our office or you send an email to us, to our webmail box that I have listed in the chat right there, FCERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov. You must send that through your employee email. So if you're a county employee, send it with your county email address. Now, as I mentioned, your retirement is a big thing. It is a big planning event. Now, I want you to also keep in mind that your FCERA benefit that you get from us is just one piece of your whole retirement puzzle. So you also need to think about the other pieces in your puzzle, such as other savings, Social Security, and then if you have the deferred comp plan, either with Nationwide or for our other plan sponsor employees that are in this call, Empower or whatever your employer provides. You're going to have to look at all that. Now, on the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of how you could run a benefit estimate inside the FCERA member portal, and then also calculate your benefit on your benefits, including the increase due to the approved COLA by our board. So this way will help determine if it's advantageous for you to retire with the COLA and things like that. So I did get a question here, is how much is in the bank? Is there an upper limit to the excess percentages stored in the bank? I believe there's not a limit. I don't know off the top of my head what the actual bank is per se. I know that this year is 4.5%. Last year was 8%. So there is a bank for retirees that is going on right now. But I don't know the exact answer as far as if there is a limit to the excess percentages stored in the bank. That's something that you can definitely reach out to us after and we can find out more information for you. But currently right now there is a COLA bank for our current retirees that are receiving a benefit check. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier about the COLA bank, because I've gotten this question before, is the COLA bank does not accumulate for active employees. You only are eligible for the COLA bank if you're retired and are already receiving that COLA allotment. So for members that are in this webinar that aren't going to retire this year per se, but are wanting to learn more about the COLA, you don't have access to that 1.5% that's banked. It's only for members that are retiring or retired already that are eligible in those tiers. Okay, so This next section here is just a couple screenshots of our member portal. Like I said, I'm going to walk you through the member portal, how to run a benefit calculation in with our calculator, and then also calculate what your COLA amount would be. And then you can add those together to see if it's advantageous for you to retire during COLA season. So, easy way to run a calculation in the member portal. You log into the portal. Then you're going to go to the calculation section here and click retirement benefit. This should then draw up a screen here that will say select calculation type. This is then where you're going to select the option of specify retirement date. So for this example purpose, I just put in the date of March 30th, 2024. So then after you do that, and actually, let me go back to that one slide really quick. After you've entered that date, you hit that orange button right there that says continue. Now, after that happens, the member portal is going to spit out some calculations for you with the different options that are available to you and your estimated amounts. Now, I do have to note that what you guys see here on the screen are all just fictitious numbers that were drawn up. They do not reflect your own benefit if you run in the member portal. So once you run those calculations, run those calculations inside the member portal, then you're going to look at those different options that are available to you. So let's just say, for example, you're going to you run this calculation and you're looking at this unmodified option. Let's say this is what you're looking to take. Now, let's say this is the benefit estimate amount that you're looking at to receive per month if you retire at the end of March. Now, to calculate what your potential COLA increase would be if you were to retire on March 30th of this year, you would just take this dollar amount right here and you would multiply that by 3%. So by doing that math right there, you're going to get a COLA increase of an extra $75.54 a month. Then, starting with your April benefit check and going forward until next April 2025, your benefit will be $2,593.53 a month. So just by you retiring in March, at the end of March and getting that 3% COLA, your benefit increased by an extra $75.54. And then you'll get that new balance right here of that $25.93.53 every month until April of next year. If there's improved COLA next year, let's say it's 3% again, then you can take 3% of that number and it keeps building and building and building. So that's kind of how you can calculate your benefit in the member portal and then also calculate what your potential COLA would be if you were to retire on or before April 1st of this year. Okay, so now before moving on, there are some questions here that I want to kind of go through here. So the first question is, can you enroll into COLA if you're not ready to retire? No, you cannot do that. You're only eligible to receive the COLA when you retire. So if you're in the eligible tiers of tiers 1 through 3 and you retire, you will then be eligible to receive that COLA whenever at that time. Depending on when you retire, you may be able to receive it this year. So if you retire on or before April 1st of 2024, you can get this year's COLA of 3% plus the 1.5% in the bank. If you retire after April 1st of this year, then you'll have to wait until April of 2025 to receive any potential COLA that is there, whatever that is approved. But you would not be able to enroll to get that banked time or that COLA that is approved this year. That's not allowed, unfortunately. Let's see, the next question. If there is no approved COLA for the year and there is no COLA in the bank, you don't get it for that year. Is this a year-to-year thing only? Yes, that is correct. So there may be potential years where there is no cost of living adjustment that is approved by our Board of Retirement. I've been here 9 years and I've personally never seen that, but it's always possible. But if there is no COLA that is approved and there's no COLA bank for that retiree, they would not get any type of adjustment for that year. But usually if there is a COLA approved, those retirees see that adjustment on their April benefit check. It's a great question. And does COLA affect retirement at all? I'm assuming, are you referring to the cost of living in general of things in our economic atmosphere currently at the moment, for example? The COLA is only taken into account. The COLA for retirees is only taken into account by the Consumer Price Index for the Western region. So whatever that calculation is at the end of the year, and our actuaries and our team, we look at that. That's how we determine what the cost of living adjustment is going to be for the retirees for the upcoming year. But it's based solely on the Consumer Price Index for the Western region. Great questions. Okay, so that's kind of how you can run a calculation in the member portal and then also calculate what your potential increase would be if you were to retire on or before April 1st to get that 3% COLA for this year, for example, because it's not always going to be a 3%. I just want to throw that out there. The 3% is the max that you can get, but it's not always going to be the case. So now showing you this may probably you may think of other questions like, well, what if I was interested in retiring in July or something like that? Would it make more sense to do then or retire early and get the COLA? So I'm going to give you guys like a short example. So let's say that we have a member that's considering retiring on July 1st of this year. And let's just say their unmodified amount is $25.91.26. Now, if the member decides to retire on March 30th of 2024, which those numbers that I showed you earlier in a couple of the slides, their unmodified would be $25.17.99. But because they retired before March or before April 1st, they get a 3% cost of living, which bumps up their benefit to $25.93.53, which is a little bit more than if you were to retire in July. So you can actually earn a little bit more and retire a couple months earlier. So these are type of the things that people think about, especially during COLA season, to see if it's advantageous for you to retire or not. So this is something to consider about, especially if you're in the mindset right now that you're contemplating retiring in the next couple months, or even if you're looking at retiring early next year. This is why, if you've seen around your work sites and stuff, you see a lot of people retire in that first quarter of the year. Because if they're eligible for the COLA, depending on what the COLA is and what their financial standing stands, they may benefit from retiring early on than waiting to retire later on, like a couple months later. Completely something that you would have to determine. Unfortunately, we cannot tell you what the best time for you to retire is, but this is just something to think about to help you plan now that you guys can kind of see how everything is kind of open. Okay. So another question is it something we also have to add for annual tax payments? I'm kind of want a little bit more detail about your question. Are you referring to our taxes paid on your benefit amount? Because there are taxes being taken out of your pension when you retire. I will talk about that toward the end of the presentation. I do have something about that, so we'll probably sit tight on that. Okay, so the other question, I'm still confused about the banking, an amount greater than 3%. The maximum COLA for a retired member to receive. Can I explain? Sure. Okay, so for eligible members in tiers 1 through 3, the max that you can receive in 1 year is 3%. So for example, this year's approved COLA was 4.5%. Well, that's more than 3%. So anybody who's already retired that receives a cost of living, or any eligible active employees that retire on or before April 1st will get that 3%. Now, they will not lose out on that rest of that 1.5% because we can only pay out a maximum of 3%. That 1.5% goes into something called the COLA bank. Then, whenever there is a year where the COLA is not 3%, so let's say, for example, 2025 is 1.5%, then for that next year, because the COLA is less than 3% and you have that 1.5% saved in your COLA bank, we can actually use that 1.5% that's saved in that COLA bank to use for 2025 to make your COLA 3% instead of 1.5%. Kind of makes sense? Hopefully that helps. But that's really what that COLA bank is used for, it stores the excess percentages over 3%, and then that bank is used any year that the COLA is less than 3%. Okay, Another question here is, would May this year be eligible for COLA? And the answer is no. COLA, it only works if you retire on or before April 1st. April 1st, 2024 is the cutoff. If you retire after April 1st of 2024 and you're in an eligible tier of 1 through 3, you will still potentially get COLAs for the remainder of your lifetime, but your first potential COLA would not be until 2025. You would have to wait an entire year. Okay, so hopefully that kind of helps with those. That was a little clear. Okay, so those are kind of the COLA comparison things. But also moving along, some other things to consider when planning your retirement date, especially if you're looking at the COLA as one of the reasons that you're retiring. Some of the things that you want to consider when you're trying to determine your retirement date. I first want to start off that the COLA may not be the most beneficial for you to retire. So I know 3% or 4.5% this year with a 1.5% COLA bank may be very tempting, but you have to look at all other aspects. And this is why using the member portal is such a vital tool. So some of the things that can affect helping choose your retirement date that may be more beneficial if you retire after the COLA or at a different time is your age, for one. So your age is one of the factors that we use to calculate your lifetime benefit. So every quarter of year of your age, your benefit increases. So 50 and a quarter, 50 and a half, 50 and 3/4. So every quarter age, your benefit increases until you reach what is considered the maximum age limit. Then at that point, you're getting the maximum age factor calculated for your monthly benefit. So for tier 1, for example, the maximum age limit is age 60. So what that means at that time is if you're a tier 1 and you're age 60, even if you go from 60 and a half to 61, your age quarter is maxed out. You are going to get the maximum percentage for your age to calculate along with your years of service and your salary. Now, your years of service is also something that's greater. As I mentioned when I went over that retirement eligibility slide, those were the minimum requirements. But the more the bigger one or more of those factors of age, years of service, or salary increases, the bigger your benefit increases. So while the COLA may be, a factor for you, something else to consider is, your years of service. Like the more years of service that you have, your benefit's going to increase. So if you're getting closer to a milestone like a 25 or 30, something like that, you may want to use the member portal to kind of see the bigger differences, and you can see the differences in your benefit with those things. Anniversary dates are also something to consider when retiring as well. And then the bigger thing is salary increases. So I know some positions and bargain units have been getting salary increases, 5% and things like that. That also can help determine if whether to retire now and get the COLA or wait to see if you get your whole year of salary if you're a tier 1, for example. So those are all things that factor in determining if retiring on or before or after the COLA is beneficial to you. One other quick note about the member portal about running your benefit estimate. Unfortunately, in the member portal, we cannot predict wages. So while you run a benefit estimate in the portal, and let's say that you got a salary increase and it's already started including your first 2 pay periods, that estimate that you're running a year from now will not include your full year of your new salary. But there is a way that you can edit that calculation inside the member portal and enter a different salary or override your final compensation that we have in the system to kind of give you a better estimate of what you're going to receive. Now, something also to consider if you're looking to retire during COLA season or just at any point in your when you're ready to retire is contacting employee benefits. And I'm speaking a lot to county employees here because that's the majority of our plan sponsored. But for all of our members of FCERA, you need to contact employee benefits prior to retiring. So there is a big misconception of things that a lot of members think that we handle annual leave hours or provide health insurance options. Unfortunately, we do not. We recommend contacting your employee benefits department to talk about what happens with your excess annual leave hours and your different health insurance options. We do not handle either one of those on site. And then another good thing to do is contact your deferred comp plan if you have an account with deferred comp. Learn about the plan, learn about when you can start withdrawing and other things of that nature. So those are things to consider when you're ready to retire. You need to make sure you contact your HR and talk about those things with them. Okay, so I got a couple other questions. I'm going to go through these questions really quickly. So if you are still active employees, we are already getting COLA 3% annually increase annually, right? I can't speak on that. That depends on your bargaining unit and everything. I would direct your call to HR. I would contact HR employee benefits to ask that question. That's something that FCERA cannot answer. And then that kind of goes along with this other question: when do active employees get their COLA amount? I would refer to contacting HR about that. We do not handle active employees payroll like that, unfortunately. So another question: do you receive the COLA if you retire at the beginning of March this year? Yes, you are eligible to receive the cost of living adjustment if you retire at the beginning of March this year, as long as you retire on or before April 1st. That is the key. And this is another great question for tier ones, is based on calendar year or any 12-month period. So this question is referring to final average compensation that is used to calculate your benefit. It is any point in your career, your highest 365 consecutive day period. It does not have to be in a calendar year. It could be any point. Great questions. Okay, so moving along. So after getting through that, let's say, okay, I've made my decision. I'm ready to retire. I want to get the COLA for this year. Great. So how do I schedule an appointment with FCERA? Well, first, you need to have a retirement date. We do not schedule appointments with members unless they have a retirement date. And if you're not looking to retire yet for this COLA season, but you're thinking about retiring next year, this is something good to know. You can call our office no earlier than 90 days prior to the retirement date that you have selected. So the earliest you can call our office is 90 days from your retirement date that you picked out. But we have to know a retirement date that you are ready to retire at, because when you meet with our specialist, they prep your file, they give you the calculations specific to that date and everything like that to go over with you. Now, when you call our office to schedule an appointment, the retirement specialist will contact you and schedule an appointment to get you in to go over all your options and have paperwork ready for you to sign. Now, any appointment that is scheduled after March 1st of this year, the member can expect their first check potentially at the end of May. Now, this is very important because the COLA season is our busiest season in our office. Appointments are can be very hectic. So we recommend, if you're looking to retire before the COLA, you need to call our office immediately. Because if you do schedule an appointment after March 1st, there is a good chance that you will not receive your first benefit check until the end of May. And I'm going to cover what that means in a little bit, because we do, as a retiree, you do get paid once a month on the last Fresno County business day of the month. Now, something else that I want to kind of cover really quickly here is, I mentioned that the COLA is available for any eligible retirees that retire on or before April 1st. Well, if you guys look at the calendar, April 1st is a county holiday and it's on a Monday. So our office will be closed. So if you are looking to retire, and let's just say it's toward the end of March and you make the last minute decision that you want to retire, you need to contact our office immediately so a retirement specialist can prep a retirement application for you to sign for that date of retirement that you're looking to have, and then they will schedule an appointment with you after that retirement date. Because April 1st is a holiday and our office is closed, we need to make sure that we have a signed retirement application from you by March 29th at 12 p.m. because our office is closed at 12 on Fridays. If we do not get that, you cannot retire and receive the COLA. So this is why it's super important. Our retirements team does not retro date your retirement date. So even if you email our office on the 29th saying, hey, I want to retire on April 1st, but that email comes too late on the 29th, we won't get that email until April 2nd. So unfortunately, we won't be able to retro that date and give you an application to sign for a retirement date of April 1st or even March 30th, things like that. So to avoid that, if you know that you're going to retire, even if it's last minute, contact us as soon as you can, because the retirement specialist can then at least provide a retirement application for you to sign to hold your date of retirement and then schedule an appointment with you later on. So that's super, super important just because that holiday is on that Monday. All right, so I have another question here. How do we calculate our benefit estimate using the, for example, 5% increase received in November 20 if planning to retire in a year? So you could take 5% of your what your new pay is going, or what your current pay or prior pay was. That's what should be your increase, and then you can actually enter that inside the member portal. There is a spot after you run a calculation, and let me see if I actually have that on that slide that I showed you guys earlier. I don't think I do. No, it's cut off. Okay, so when you run a calculation, I can show you this part at least. So when you run a calculation and it shows you the screen here of your different options and amounts, above this, which you guys can't see unfortunately, is there an orange button that will say edit calculation. You can actually click that orange button that says edit calculation, and then it will take you to a new screen. There is going to be a section where it says override final compensation. You can actually throw that number in there. And then click the orange button again to recalculate the calculation, and it'll calculate your estimated benefit with that new salary to kind of give you an idea what that's going to look like. If you guys, if you have any questions or have trouble navigating that, please send us an email, give us a call. That's what we're here for. We can walk you through that. That's no problem. Okay, so I got a couple more slides here, and then the rest of the time is for you guys for any potential Q&A if you guys have any more questions. So going through the retirement process, there are going to be some documents that we are going to need from you. As you guys can see on the slide here, we are going to need copies of your birth certificate, your beneficiary's birth certificate. If you're married, we need a copy of your marriage certificate or certificate of domestic partnership. If you ever gotten a divorce during your FCERA membership, we need a copy of your finalized divorce documents. And then also Social Security estimate if you were choosing the temporary annuity option. Now, all these required documents here, such as birth certificates and let's say divorce documents, for example, you do not have to wait until you retire and go through the counseling session to provide these documents. You can provide these documents to us at any time. If you're unsure what documents you need to provide to us, give us a call, send us an email. We can then look into your account to see what documents we need from you and then let you know, and then you can provide those documents to us. Now, you can provide those copies of those documents in a couple different ways. You can drop them off at our office. You can mail them through the regular mail, or you can, if you're a county employee, you can send those through county stop mail. We are stop number 40. So these documents are required. We do need these while you're going through the retirement process, because if we do not have these, we cannot process your payments. So a good rule of thumb here to save you a little bit of stress is, especially if we're planning to retire in a year from now, contact our office, see what kind of forms see what forms that we have for you on file, or if we have any, and then get those forms to us. It'll be one less thing that you have to worry about then when you go through the retirement process. Okay, now on this slide here, I'm not going to go over these super in depth, because if you check out our website or our YouTube channel, I have a whole webinar designated to the retirement benefit options. But these are all the different options that are available to you when you are going through the retirement process. Now, the option that you select is final. So if whatever option that you pick, you cannot change after you retire and start receiving payments from FCERA. We, as FCERA staff, cannot tell you what the best option for you is, but just as a rule of thumb, based off of what I've seen, A lot of our membership does look at taking that unmodified option, which is that first option you see on the slide. That unmodified option provides the highest benefit available that you can receive from FCERA based off of your age, your years of service, and your final average compensation. Now, this unmodified option allows you to leave a 60% lifetime continuance to an eligible spouse or minor child. So that what that means, if something happens to you, your spouse or your minor child will get 60% of whatever you're getting every month for the spouse's lifetime. In the case of the minor child, they would get that every month up until they turn 18 or they are age 22 in an accredited school. Now, the other options there, option one provides a benefit, does not provide a survivor continuance, provides a lump sum payment of the remaining contributions to your beneficiary of choice. The other three options there, 2, 3, and 4, provide a continuing benefit to a beneficiary of your choice. So I definitely recommend taking a look at our website. You can check out our video library on our website as well. There is a specific video webinar that I did all about these options there that I go a little bit more in depth on. I definitely recommend checking that out when you have a chance. Okay. So let's see here. I know I have some questions here. I'm just going to get through the last couple of slides I have here for you guys, and then I will get to all your questions. So the last couple of things I wanted to talk to you guys quickly about is if you're going through that retirement process and you are going to retire during this COLA season, is your first benefit check. So retirees are paid on the last Fresno County business day of every month. So it's a big change from you working. And instead of getting paid biweekly, you're getting paid once a month on the last business day of the month. Now, depending on your retirement date and when you receive and when FCERA receives your retirement documents that are necessary, such as bank forms, tax forms, application, things like that, you may wait 30 to 60 days for your first retirement benefit payment. Now, COLA season, as I mentioned, is our busiest time of the year. So if you call our office and you make a call our office after March 1st, our benefits team is expecting your first benefit check to be paid in the end of May. Now, what that means to you is if you have a retirement date of March 30th, but you won't receive your first benefit check till May, is that your first benefit check is going to include 2 months worth of payments and an extra couple of days. So your first check that you get at the end of May will be for the 2 days of March 30th and 31st, for example, the whole month of April, and then the entire month of May. It'll be retro paid from your date of retirement. And then starting with your June monthly benefit, it will be your monthly allowance that was discussed with the retirement specialist based on the option that you selected, minus any taxes that are taken out at your discretion. So another key thing about this when you're going through the retirement process is, I know I mentioned the 30 to 60 day things like that. All the situations depend. The retirement specialist, when they meet with you and they go over this, will provide a time frame for you about getting these documents in and when you can expect your first benefit check. So these are the things talked about with the team that they wanted me to mention to you all today. But when you go through that process with the retirement specialist, they will give you out a drawn out timeline of when to submit those documents and when you can expect your first payment. Okay, when you do receive a paycheck as a retiree, there are a couple of things that are deducted from your check. So compared to an active employee, you're only going to have a couple of things deducted. The big thing that is going to be deducted is taxes for federal and state, unless you choose to not have any taxes withheld. That is your choice. When you go through the retirement process in a counseling session with our specialist, they will give you tax forms to fill out. You will fill those tax forms out to your discretion. And if you ever want to change those tax forms, you more than welcome you can change them by just submitting new forms. Now, a couple other things that can be deducted from your check are health insurance premiums. Now, these health insurance premiums can only be deducted if you buy an insurance plan from the County of Fresno's Employee Benefits Office. Now, it's only a specific plan. As I mentioned before in a previous slide, we do not handle anything health insurance related, so please contact Employee Benefits to talk to them about that, and they can tell you which plan can be deducted from your FCERA benefit check. Another thing would be REFCO dues. So REFCO is an association for Fresno County retirees. They have monthly luncheons, quarterly newsletters, things like that. They have a bunch of different activities and other benefits for retirees. If you're interested in joining their membership, it's $1 a month. That could be deducted from your benefit check. That more information about that will be provided to you during your counseling session. And then finally, the only other deduction that potentially could happen with your retirement benefit check is garnishments by law. So for most members, they just have taxes withheld and health insurance if they buy it from the county. Completely up to you though. As I mentioned, any health insurance related stuff, contact the county employee benefits or your HR if you're from one of our other plan sponsors, and they can help you with that. Now, I mentioned tax forms. When you go through the retirement process, they will give you tax forms during that session. You can change your tax withholding at any time by just completing and submitting new forms. If you make changes, submit changes to your taxes by the 10th of the current month, those changes will go in effect for that month's benefit check. Unfortunately, we cannot help you fill out those tax forms, so we recommend consulting a tax specialist for your tax questions on how to fill out those withholding forms. And then finally, we do offer you a direct deposit form. We do offer you the options. You get a direct deposit or a paper check. We definitely recommend direct deposit, but I know some people do paper check. Direct deposit is faster and more secure payment. If you go the paper check route, the paper check takes approximately 2 to 5 business days to be mailed to you from our bank in Chicago from the date the check is issued, which is about the day before the payments hit direct deposit. If you also want to ever change your banking options, you can do the same thing like your tax withholding. You just have to fill out new forms and submit them to our office, and we can get that done for you. And then finally, before I attack those questions in the chat, this is just more of our contact information. Again, there's our address there. Our office hours, we're open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 12, 1 to 5. Fridays, we're open half a day from 8 to 12. If you have any questions, give us a call there. Our phone number is right there, 457-0681. Our email address is FCERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov. And then also as well, there is our website for FresnoCountyRetirement.org. Be on the lookout for that. And then finally, you guys have your cell phones out, there is a QR code right there. If you guys scan that QR code, it will take you to our link tree, which will take you to all our social channels, our Instagram page, our LinkedIn page, Facebook, and YouTube page with our video library. We're going to be using social media a lot in the upcoming years, especially with this year creating more content and stuff like that. So I recommend checking our social channels out, especially our video library. We want to keep producing content like this for you guys to have to better prepare you for your future retirement. Now, that's it really for the presentation. I'm going to leave that QR code on the screen here, but I'm going to go ahead and answer the remaining questions here in the chat. So, can I choose to retire from my department or county and not draw retirement and continue working for a different agency and start to draw at a later date? So technically, yes, you can choose to. I wouldn't say necessarily you would retire from your department, but it was just basically you're resigning and leaving employment. You can still, if you're eligible to retire, you can leave employment and defer your retirement and come back and draw a benefit later on at a different time. Now, depending on the agency that you go to, so if you go to another California public agency, let's say like the state of California with CalPERS, or another county or another city like the city of Fresno, city of Madera, something like that, you could establish reciprocity, which could help enhance your benefit later on. But I recommend if that's something that if that's something that's you're looking at in the future, you contact our office, speak to a retirement specialist. They can walk you through all those different scenarios. Can you explain the TAO? It's confusing. So I don't know how much the TAO would take a little bit of a explanation. I can probably do it really quickly in a nutshell, but if you want to just email me, I can give you more information about that, including a webinar that I did for that. You can email the FCERA web mailbox, or you can email me directly, give me a call. I would be happy to walk you through that. But essentially, the TAO is a loan. It is an advance on your Social Security benefit. So basically, it's available to anybody that's under the age of 62 when they're ready to retire. You're going to provide us an estimate of your Social Security benefit. We then put that into our system, and based off an actuarial factor, we take a percentage of that benefit and we add that to your FCERA benefit every month until you turn 62. When you turn 62, your benefit is decreased by the entire Social Security benefit that you estimate that you provided to us when you retired. And that decrease lasts for the entire, your entire lifetime. I know that was really quick, but send me an email, or you can check out our website under the video library. There's an actual webinar based on the TAO. Another question, what about paperwork for OJI percent related injuries? Would you need that as well as your appointments? That depends if you're filing a disability application or not. I recommend for questions on those OJI percentage paperwork and stuff like that, contact our office and speak to our disability unit. They may be able to assist you with that. Can you repeat steps on the website on how to do the calculation to override final compensation? Yes. So I know I did that very easy, but let me go back to the slide here. I know it doesn't show it, but when you run a benefit estimate and you get to this screen here where it shows you all your different benefit amounts, there is going to be an orange button here at the top above the estimated total monthly benefits line. There's going to be an orange button that says edit calculation. You're going to want to click on that. That will take you to the screen where you can edit various things in calculations. So you can add service credit if you were to purchase new time, reciprocal years. But there's also a section on the right side of the screen that says override final compensation amount. That's where you're going to put that amount right there. When you put that amount that amount in that box, you're going to go back to the top of the screen and you're going to hit the button, the orange button that says recalculate benefit. I believe it says recalculate benefit, but something along those lines. And it will take you back to this screen right here, but then it should include the amounts of that estimated final comp that you put in. So hopefully that helps. Great. Thank you. So we still have a few minutes. If you guys have any other questions, please throw those out. I'd be happy to try to answer as many as I can, but you guys can always email us or call us. Also too, I put in the chat there's the very first message in the chat. I'm going to link it again. If you guys wouldn't mind taking this survey here, just to kind of give me some feedback about the webinar. I definitely want to keep creating content for you guys and make every webinar better than the last one. So any feedback from you guys would definitely be helpful. I want to really try to give you guys the best and best ways to get that information to you so you guys can make the best decisions for your retirement, because that's my job. I want to make sure that you guys have all the information to you so you can make that sound decision. This is a great question. When sending in a birth certificate stop mail, do you need the original or a copy? You can send us a copy. It does not have to be the original. It's a great question. Great question. Okay. So I will still be here I've still got plenty of time if you guys have more questions. If you guys don't have any questions or you don't want, you're more than free to enjoy the rest of your lunch and the rest of your day. I do appreciate your guys' time this afternoon. I really hope you found this presentation helpful. I know it's a lot of information I'm throwing at you guys in a short span, but I appreciate you all being here today and your attention about the COLA, because it was just announced last week. But if there's any other questions here, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm gonna see if there's anything else that that might be useful to throw in there. Again, I will say that if you are contemplating retiring before April 1st, contact our office immediately to talk to a retirement specialist to schedule an appointment. As I mentioned, if your appointment is scheduled after March 1st, you can anticipate your first benefit check being at the end of May. So please keep that in mind. Don't wait till the last minute. I know that circumstances change and things like that, but please make sure that if you are looking to retire, you contact us immediately, because as I mentioned, this is our busiest season of the year. Um, so I don't have a printout per se of directions to set up the account. It's a good thing you brought that up because I'm actually going to create one for the future. Unfortunately, I don't have one today, but if you email me or give me a call, I can walk you through that and I can give you the information that you need to register and stuff like that. So you could just shoot me an email, give me a call. I can be happy to assist with that. That's no problem. You guys have really good questions today. Um, So the benefit calculation, estimated final compensation amount, what is it based off of? So it depends on what tier that you are in. So if you're in tiers 1 and 2, we look at your whole career of salary and we pick out your highest 1-year average at any point in your career. So it's your highest 1 year, 365 consecutive day period at any point. It does not have to be a calendar year from January to December. It could be any point. There's another question here. Do you know if Social Security subtracts money if you receive a pension? I do not. I believe they do not, but I recommend contacting Social Security directly and asking that question. Just because we do not deal with anything Social Security related, I do not want to give you any type of false information. Please contact Social Security directly and they would be able to help you with that. Okay. Some really good questions. Let me see if there's anything else that might be. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, I know that I talked about wanting to create more content and everything, but uh, if your department would be interested in having myself or one of our other representatives come out, give your department a presentation or hosting a table or something so you guys can come ask us questions on your lunch and stuff, just have them give me a call, shoot me an email. We'll be happy to work with you on that. I know I go out to some departments like the JJC for probation. I go out to the sheriff's department. I've gone out to the DSS building a couple of times, so we'll be happy to go out there and meet with you and give presentations, stuff like that if your department is interested. We will be also trying to have webinars on a more consistent basis, try to do them at least once a month. Not sure what next month's topic is going to be, but I'm also working on something for members that are in the midst of their career. I have a mid-career webinar that I started a couple years ago. I'm going to be doing that a couple times this year. So we'll be doing that, but there's also going to be more presentations and webinars in the future. So look out for those. But I think that's about it. If there's isn't any other questions, thank you guys again for being here this afternoon. I really hope you found this webinar educational and useful. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, give us a call, shoot us an email. We would be happy to help with that. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And see you guys around the county. Bye, everybody.